Hello and welcome to Guy Cocker's Video Games Podcast, episode 12 on 23rd of July 2013. I'm your host Guy Cocker, and on this week's show I'm joined by some of the games industry's most prolific community managers for a Community Manager special, and to pour over this week's news, address your feedback and give away some cool prizes. Before we begin, apologies for the delay to this week's podcast. A double whammy of press trips and a much needed holiday took me out of action for a couple of weeks. Thanks again for all the messages of support and for bearing with me. My first guest is Digital and Community Manager for PlayStation UK, working on PlayStation 4, and prior to that she worked over at Namco Bandai and Destructoid. She's Hollie Bennett. Hollie, thanks for joining me.
Woo!
We're in your office as well, Hollie. Thanks very much. In the bowels of Sony with the PlayStation 4 right here. Can we say that? It's sat right here. It's a prototype.
We brought the PlayStation 4 downstairs for you to pass around while we were setting up, and yeah, it looks amazing. So.
Well, thanks for joining me, Hollie. My second guest is the Social and Community Manager for Capcom UK, where he's worked on titles including DMC, Resident Evil, and is currently prepping, or I assume he is at least, for the launch of Lost Planet 3. He's Neil Gorton. Neil, how's it going?
Hello, Internet. Hello, Guy.
Thanks very much for joining me, Neil. How is Lost Planet 3 going? It's launching very soon.
It's going all right. It's pretty chilly. I'm just wondering how I'm going to do a launch event for that one as it happens.
Well, we'll talk more about launch events and the other work and roles of a community manager later on in the show. My next guest says on Twitter that his job is to transform you into a super bitch. He's also the community manager for Tecmo Koei, working on Dynasty Warriors, Ninja Gaiden, and Dead or Alive. He's the one and only Chin Soon's son. Welcome, Chin.
Hi. Hello.
How's it going, Chin? How's your day been so far?
My day has been great. Just finished my dinner with Hollie.
Excellent. Good stuff, good stuff. Well, thanks for joining me. And my final guest, just about making it in, it's a very busy show today, is the lead community manager at Sony XDev, working with the likes of Media Molecule, Guerrilla, and Quantic Dream, among many others. She's Sarah Wellock. Sarah, thanks for coming on the show despite your headache.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Have you said you were going to pop some American drugs and...
I'm seeing a lot of magical things in this room.
Okay, well, thank you very much for making your way in today. Okay, so as I'm joined this week by such esteemed community managers, I posted on Twitter and Facebook asking for your questions. So here we go. I hope you guys are prepped. Luke Burns, aka Giroon on Twitter, says, my question is the role of community management a growing profession? Is it a brand new type of role, or has it been going for a while? Hollie, let's start with you. What do you think?
The community manager role as we know it is pretty much new. Prior to the rise of social media, most communities found their home on forums. Now this role has now extended beyond that. We look at Facebook, we look at YouTube, we look at Twitter, among other sites. So the role that we all work in now is really different from that old forum role. Mm-hmm. I think we can pretty much all agree on that. And social media has a big effect on how we all work and the way we say things and what we do.
Right. So
I think the biggest thing for us actually is we're new. And that means that a lot of people have been doing this for a long time, so maybe PRs that have been doing this 10, 15 years. Still not quite sure where we've been fitting. So a large part of our job internally has been educating people on what we do, how we fit into the company, and why we need to be supported as well.
Right.
And then finding how that marketing, sales, PR, and community work together, which some companies have been really good, and others are just taking a little bit of time to educate themselves on what we do.
So quite a lot of stuff there. And Neil, you and Hollie, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, were journalists at some point or worked in a journalistic capacity. And you've
absolutely. That's
but Neil, you would describe yourself as a journalist when you were at Jinx?
Certainly a reviewer and a producer of television content. It's in fact where I first chanced to cross Hollie. I was quite an admirer of her presenting style and her journalistic style. And when times changed and I found myself out on my own, making my own content and wanted to get into community management, it was Hollie, in fact, who coached me through that and helped me get to where I am today.
And is it? Would you say it's a growing profession? Are there more and more community managers springing up, people joining that profession?
I think, just as Hollie stated, I think a lot more companies are becoming aware that maybe the old style PR is not the right approach to take. Maybe their marketing and PR won't cut it alone, and they need to engage with their fans. At the end of the day, you're supported by your army of fans, and if they're not there and they're not getting the information in the traditional ways, then that's where you come in.
Chin, what was your progression into community management? Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh my god, they said it all.
Yours is good. Your history is really good.
Well, for Tecmo Koei, we never actually had a proper community. So I started the fan site, and I kind of grew it from there. So now a lot of Koei fans, Tecmo Koei fans, they just follow me and the company to make sure so I can keep giving them news and help them to sort out some of the game bugs. Like today.
And how long have you been doing that for?
Well, I started a fan site, I think, probably 8 years ago. But I got hired by Tecmo Koei 5 years ago.
Okay.
So it's been 5 years in the industry.
And what about you, Sarah? Describe a little bit about your journey, and if you can, try and answer Luke's question about whether it's a growing profession. Do you think lots of people get involved?
Yeah, I didn't come from games originally. I've come from a web design and online marketing background.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked agency side doing some work for like Rockstar and people like that, and kind of forced my way into the job I wanted over at Sega. So I've always found that I've had a hybrid of a role where I've done web design at pretty much every community role I've had. I've always ended up building and designing websites and stuff you wouldn't normally expect a community manager to end up doing, and we think we've all done that at some point. But I think definitely it's growing. I think the role itself, just like Hollie said, is so different to what it was even 6 years ago. That I think the companies that are really embracing it are doing really well, and they've got really great ambassadors for their products and their brand out there. And it's even more obvious now, the companies that are still kind of a bit cagey and a bit slow to pick up the pace. I think it's a really exciting job to be in right now, I think.
So this bleeds a little bit into Mark Boss's question, who also hit me up on Twitter. Said, what's the best way to get into working as a community manager? You said you forced your way in at Sega. What was that? What was the process behind that?
They were looking for an affiliate marketing manager for Football Manager Live.
Right.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
And James Shaw, who's now their director of digital. Hi, James. Took a bit of a punt with me because it was working on a football brand. So obviously Miles Jacobson was very heavily involved, and so I kind of bombarded them with presentations and ideas for weeks until they relented and let me do it. Unfortunately, Football Manager Live did not survive as long.
Would you agree with that kind of response, Hollie, and in the way you got into community management?
God, I'm a professionally trained and practicing midwife of 2 years. Parents, I think a lot of kids growing up, their parents don't understand video games, so my parents very much get a real job. So I did. Midwife of 2 years. While I was training, I found it particularly tough. I was really isolated, quite alone, and I found an online gaming community called Destructoid. And I joined it, and I think, quite honestly, if it hadn't been for that community, I probably wouldn't have graduated. They really were amazing. And then eventually from there, I was doing more and more stuff on the side for Destructoid, to the point where, like, Christ, we'll give this woman a job, because she's now repping us. She's going out and doing work. So eventually I took over as the European community manager for Destructoid, because there was no one doing it previously. I ran a European podcast. I was an on-camera presenter, and I did a lot of work for them at shows and stuff like that. And then from there, I finally got to that point where I was like, I'm doing it, I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave midwifery and I get my first full-time proper games industry job. And it was Namco Bandai that they really did take a chance on me. They really did. And luckily, I think it paid off. The Tales fans who are listening to this might agree as well. But yeah, I came in through sheer passion. Absolutely sheer passion.
Jim, what would you say if, this is a crazy question, but if someone was to replace you, how would you advise them doing that? at
You
Tecmo?
have to be strong.
Physically strong.
But I think, as Hollie mentioned, the passion. So you need to have the passion. If you don't have the passion, you can't work with the community.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they can sense that? The passion? The community can sense the passion? Or
Yeah.
or is it just that the passion will get you through tough days? Or what's the thinking behind that?
Well, I think if you're passionate, you can probably do all the things.
I think if you're passionate, you always do what's best for them.
Yeah.
And you're willing to fight battles internally for them. Battles you probably wouldn't go out of your way to fight if you didn't care.
Right.
And the caring, however, is what sets us up for the biggest falls, when we don't get the answers we want, when we have to disappoint them, when we have to let them down. The fact that you're passionate is a blessing and a curse, because the highs are higher and the lows are even lower, especially when you've got to upset them or not deliver what they want.
Yes.
And you've had experience of that and having to deliver bad news and...
I was quite lucky. I delivered the news that Ni no Kuni was being delayed by a week here in Europe, and the community we had built and who had worked with us was so wonderful. I didn't get a single complaint.
Really? Okay.
But we were so ready for this. Just you don't want to disappoint people.
Yeah.
But if you're passionate about what you do, you feel for them, because a community manager should always be a participant within their own community.
Right.
You don't just lead it; you participate with it as well.
Right.
Yes.
Sarah, your title is lead. Sorry, I'm just pulling up. It was lead community manager. So that sort of suggests you might have a team. I mean, do you hire community managers?
Yeah, we've got 2 community assistant managers who do a lot of the day-to-day stuff, especially with Little Big Planet being such an enormous community. It needs a lot of people. I mean, we hit 8 million levels recently and we couldn't be happier. So I tend to do more of the strategic planning and design work. I do kind of miss being down in the trenches though a little bit. As much as I can. No.
Neil, maybe you can answer this question from Richard Churchill, who you probably know as well. Richard Churchill is over at 2K. He says,
What do you do, Richard?
He says, my question is, do you report into the marketing department or the PR department, or both?
Well, that is a good question. In fairness,
Damn him.
Yeah, it might.
They've just hired a new community manager in the forum, Sven. Yes.
Congratulations,
Sven
Sven.
Jocelyn, who was over at Spawn. Anyway, that was a segue. Sorry.
That's all
Neil,
right.
you were
Well
saying.
segued. To answer Richard Churchill's question, I was hired under the branch of marketing, but every company is so dynamic that I make my home. Make my own little nest sandwich somewhere in between PR and management. I might, PR and marketing. I might come off marketing's payroll, but my job entails interacting with marketing and PR on a daily basis to get the best of both worlds.
Right.
I will take briefs from both of them and just mash up, and it will come my glory. No, I try to serve both of them as best I can, but I guess you ultimately answer to the fans in that respect.
Right, okay. So they're your boss.
They are your boss.
Don't tell him that.
So what about the rest of you guys? Would you agree with that? I mean, do you report into PR or marketing over at Sony or at Tecmo?
Every time, because we work quite closely. So what I do for the communities, I always report to the PR and marketing department.
Okay.
Like, they're my boss after all.
I'm actually under a production budget.
Right.
Because I'm more developer side, but I think I speak to marketing and PR more than I do any other department within Sony.
And how's it work? This is one of my questions, but how does it work with kind of being judged on results? Because obviously, you can track number of fans or number of tweets or whatever it is, but there's a lot of it's to do with sentiment, isn't it? Which is harder to sort of measure. How does that work?
I think sentiment you'll only get if you're in the trenches, like Sarah saying, who genuinely are, tend to be the one interacting with them. It's quite hard to sift through things if you're not the one on the ground.
Yeah.
Sentiment depends on where you're coming from. It's like most research. You've got the qualitative and you've got the quantitative. Quantitative is easy. That's your stats, that's your numbers. We've got this many more likes this week, this many more hits on YouTube, this many more followers on Twitter. Easy. And most we have like apps that do it for us and we just collect data. The qualitative stuff is a little bit harder because it depends. If, for example, we are doing some marketing, some advertising on Facebook, so we make the post on Access like we do all the time, but the post may also then be projected out to gamers, say age 16 to 25. And some of them will be Xbox fans and may not appreciate seeing a Sony post.
Right.
And for that reason may find themselves coming on and leaving certain comments. And it works both ways, and it works across all games as well.
Sure.
So sentiment can be quite hard to match. You've got to take a lot of things into things. You're just talking to hardcore fans? Are you trying to make a bigger audience? Are you going after someone else's audience?
Right.
Yeah.
That's when sentiment becomes tricky, and it can become really upsetting to read.
What about you over at Capcom, Neil?
Yeah,
What's your main? Are you trying to get fans for Dead Rising at the moment, or is it Lost Planet? How's it?
I was going to say it's literally like Hollie says. At times you are paid to read the comments, which is the one thing everyone on the internet tells you not to do. I have the fortune of working with a guy called David, who is the community manager who looks specifically after fighting games. So be that Darkstalkers, be that Street Fighter, he will handle that. Whereas when it comes to me, I look after all the other titles. So I guess my job is to work around there and promote them as much as I can. So I'll be looking after as many titles as I can during the day, as well as specific games, as well as, I beg your pardon, the Capcom brand itself. It can be very, very varied. Different fans require an entirely different approach, especially more so when you meet them in public, but they will respond differently to different things. Don't think that you can post a picture of the lead protagonist of Lost Planet 3 and it'll get a good reaction from those fans, but you can't do the same with like a Resident Evil game. They won't be interested in that at all. You have to cater within your own brand specifically to those fans. You have to learn what they like, and you have to look after them and tend them all.
Right. And you were saying at the top of the show, I think it was, you said you were organising events at the moment as well, which is another.
Try to. That can be a fun part. It's something I really wanted to do when I came on, especially from like a journal background. Like I really like to get the fans involved wherever it's possible, like whether it's inviting them into the office or putting on an event for them. It's an interesting time, I think, for all of us just now, with everyone's sort of locking down stuff with the new consoles coming about. So there's maybe not as much money as there was to play with, but I would love to go around the country and put on events. I think everyone, when they tune into gaming media, assumes that everything just happens in London. I'd really like to break away from that, because your fans are all over the country. I'd love to go and put events up in Scotland. I'd love to go and put stuff up in Wales for a week and just travel around and just remind people that they're not forgotten about, that we do appreciate their custom, their loyalty, and their passion.
It does mostly happen in London, but there are more and more events that are happening around the country.
Yeah, it's turned out. I mean, things like the DS and the Vita, because we're in Sony. It's great when fans come together and put on their own events. As silly as that sounds, it's a lot easier for us to support them if we don't have to write up the paperwork for it. So if you're putting on an event in Bognor Regis and you've got 50 people coming, I will happily send you out prizes to support. Just send me a picture to show that all you guys met up and enjoyed the prizes and whatnot. Love it when stuff like that happens, when your fan base is so motivated to create their own events. That not only makes us feel great, but it's so easy and pleasing to support as well. That's what I'd like to see more of.
You're going to get bombarded with requests now.
By all means, bring them. If I can support them, I shall.
Chin, is that the way that it works over at Tecmo as well? Do you have a lot of people creating their own events and asking you for support?
Yeah, especially their live tournaments.
Yeah.
So they want us to support them as much as we can. Of course, we're trying our best. But I think our fans are quite demanding. Yeah. Some of them, one day they love boobs, and the other day they just hate boobs. Okay. So we don't know whether to include that or to exclude that in the game.
We have to push you on that. Have you got an example of when they've liked boobs? You're talking about Dead or Alive here, surely?
Yeah. When we first created Dead or Alive 5, we just want to make it like a fighting game. Yeah. So we decrease the boob size and everything, and now and the fans, they wanted it back, so we put it back, and now they're complaining again. So do you want boobs or do you don't want boobs? I don't understand.
Make up your mind, community. I'm going to have to go to the darker side of community management now with a question from Dan Sheridan, who is a community manager over at EA. How do you guys deal with stupid questions? Do you get stupid questions? How frequently do you get them? Holly, you're sighing. What do you?
We get them frequently. I think a perfect example is we made a video last week for Access called basically PlayStation 4 FAQ. And I'm not joking, the two most popular questions are how much does it cost and when's it out? Questions that are readily available. However, you have to then appreciate that these fans really genuinely don't know that. Right. So you get a lot of the same questions. Again, there isn't really a stupid question. Genuinely isn't. It's just people that don't know.
Sure.
But it's having to answer the same question again. But that's just a test of your patience as a community manager, and that's what you need to have with any large group of people.
So do you let the other community members just answer those questions, or do you jump in there and say it's available on?
I answer pretty much every tweet we get.
Right.
I do this at Namco as well. I personally answer every direct message I get on our Facebook page, and with nearly 500,000 fans, that's normally quite a lot of DMs. Facebook comment sections are too much.
Yeah.
They can move far too quickly. I physically can't keep up with you. It's not that I don't answer, I physically can't.
But you're looking, you're monitoring at least.
Always monitoring, and if I can, I reply. I think we all do it. I can't reply to all of them. might reply to the first person to ask
Yeah.
it, but not the subsequent 80.
Yeah.
But we do try really hard, and I think everyone is allowed to ask the questions, and we try and answer. It's more just when we don't like the answer, I think, is when it gets dark. And then you're in this difficult position of how do I respond? Where do I bite? And where do I go, you're angry, upset, you don't want to talk to me anymore, I've heard your point, but I'm gone.
And you presumably have to, like, figure out how to deal with that sort of stuff on the job and not... Because there's no guidance for this sort of stuff, is there, really?
And that's the thing about community management being new. There aren't any rules for us to follow. It isn't as easy. Your mood can have a massive effect on how you reply, when you reply, and there are times, I'm sure, for most community managers, have written something and gone, oh god, that's either going to work or it's not. I think a perfect example, I had someone complain, we're talking about favourite racing games on PlayStation, and someone wrote, lol, I love Mario Kart, and I just replied with, oh, hi, I'm really sorry, but I think you're looking for, and link them to the Nintendo Facebook page. I'm like, they're going to find out really funny what they're going to be like. And they did. They found it hilarious and everyone loved it and it was a great tone. But it does show that there are days where you really do have to turn it off.
Yeah.
I gave this advice, I think, in MCV recently. I was like, walk away. You don't need to fight. You don't need to reply.
Right.
And it's funny, I'm pretty sure we've all done it before. You write out the reply and then you go to the person next to you.
Is that...
Would you say this? Yeah. And then they look over your shoulder and then you go, and then even when you've said it and you're rereading it, you go, that was a mistake.
Is there a general sort of ethos you can use? Is it like, if I would say this in person to another, but is that like...
I genuinely believe, and we learned this at Destructoid, if you wouldn't say it to someone in real life, don't say it on the internet.
Right.
That's how I've always lived my life. And I just try to remember, it's general customer service, if I was them, how would I feel? But as a community manager, your job is to be in tune with these people. And you get really good at knowing who is open for friendly debate, who is here to just voice their opinion, who is in for a vicious argument, and who would actually just like you to talk to them.
Right. And
you do get good. And community managers are naturally very good at reading people through their text only. Because all you've got to go off. Community managers do get very good at this.
And if it's a taunt or a jibe, then just why waste your time when you could be answering someone who genuinely does want help?
Right. Well, how do you deal with it? I mean, as a journalist, Sarah, sometimes writing about games, you'd be aware that your audience knew more about them than you did. I mean, the Little Big Planet community must know that game inside out by now.
Yeah.
And how do you deal with that?
I'm still playing catch up with those guys. I may be forever playing catch up with those guys. The Little Big Planet community is an interesting one because the game's 5 years old later this year. So we've had some guys in there from day one who played the same levels every single week. We have 2 girls in France who had to move to different cities. And so to keep in touch, they built a level together. Every Friday, they get online, they play the level together, and they chat. Those guys are lovely. I love those guys. Those guys are the best.
Their dream.
Because we have quite a young audience, they're really internet savvy, probably more so than I am, frankly. Like, they're all on Snapchat and Vine, and I'm still catching up and going, what's this? So when they do complain, they complain in numbers rather than like one angry person. They form petitions and groups, and they go to Media Molecule, they go to the press, and then they go to us. And we've had a situation like that really recently that we managed to avoid by essentially patching the game and putting in a blocking functionality. But I think I tend to say, if I wouldn't say it to my mum, I won't say it to them.
Not online, where it's going to be held on record forever.
Exactly,
as well.
And a lot of the time, because like PlayStation Plus has really revolutionised the way that people who wouldn't normally buy your game suddenly have it for free.
Yeah.
And then they come on, they're like, I don't understand how to make a level. And everyone else is like shouting at them because they're idiots. And you think, well, if it was my mum, she wouldn't know. She just got it for free. So it's made it a bit more like challenging, I think, that we have to suddenly be aware that the new audience is growing digitally more so than it is in box products at the moment.
Right, that's interesting. So that would be Little Big Planet Vita was on PlayStation Plus.
Little Big Planet Karting is on PlayStation Plus at the moment.
Okay. What about you, Neil? Have you had any particularly stupid questions asked? It seems like there aren't really that many stupid questions.
I don't subscribe to
maybe
the
Dan
theory
over at EA gets a lot of stupid questions.
Dan.
I don't subscribe to the theory that there is such a thing as a stupid question, but I mean, there's people there, like as we've said, that just want to fight, or they're just trying to get under your skin, and it's just literally of no interest. Like if you want help or need help, just ask for it formally, ask for it nicely. I was going to say, actually, what do you think is, you were mentioning about petitions and things like that, what do you think is the most, what's the way you prefer to receive feedback and questions from your community?
I quite like petitions. Because it's easier to go to upper management and kind of developers and say, we have this problem, it needs fixing. I mean, I don't like them. I don't go, but it's easier to go to management and say, this is a problem. Because the first thing management tend to say to you, or like developers, will be like, well, it's only 2 people complaining on a forum. And you go, actually,
here's
here's 10,000 people signing it. It's not. Whereas individual complaints that you can deal with personally are okay.
If you see the same thing coming up individually often enough, though, you can start.
Yeah, definitely.
It's time to make a frequently asked questions about that, or just make a little post like, attention, we know this problem is happening, please read here for more details.
And that's when you start talking to PR as well, because that type of information, as Chin knows, goes public super fast.
I know Media Molecule from sort of covering their games have hired quite a few people through community, but have you guys made any friends from the actual kind of people that you meet up with, friends from the community?
Me and Neil.
You and Neil,
I
suppose.
Desi mates.
Destructoid are particularly close.
Awesome.
I met an old friend through school. We've been like contact about 4 years. We met back up on Destructoid. We're like best friends now. We've been living together for like 3-4 years here in London.
Right.
Destructoid are still insanely close. I started the email I started back on CM, still goes now. And we're meeting up on Sunday for a barbecue at my house, and particularly,
Nice. Well, I've got a question here that's a little bit like a job interview question. But Pete Kloss...
What are your strengths and weaknesses? I am immune to fire type and weak against stone.
Pete Kloss, who used to work at Ubisoft, says, what was your toughest community management challenge and how did you resolve it? I used to ask this question for my first ever community management role. I was asked this question, he says, many moons ago. I've long since stolen it for use when hiring community experts myself. Wildly varying answers, always interesting. Neil, let's start with you. What's your toughest community manager challenge and how did you resolve it?
Oh, when I was very, very fresh to the job. This is like confessions of a community manager. When I was very,
Like
very
red
fresh
lights.
to the job, before I learned that perhaps I should check with PR and marketing
I
for
love
making
this
announcements. Someone asked me if one of our games was coming to the PC, and it was just offhandedly, I was sure in the back of my head that it was.
Yeah.
I just thought, don't worry, it's coming. Went away for lunch, came back. It was all over NeoGAF. It was all over like news sites, Twitter going absolutely berserk. And I had that moment of clear calm where my PR manager hadn't quite seen it yet and was just starting to hear about it, and then click through, and like, I'm in real trouble here. And that's where you learn that as a community manager, honesty is the best policy. I had to fully come forward and say, this is entirely me. I am in charge of representing the company. I have made a huge mistake. Please forgive me. I shall try to make sure it never happens again, but please note that this is entirely my fault. No one else has said this. This is my bad. I just got to be out there and honest and say I messed up. Sorry.
I think I remember this instance, but it's right. You're probably right to be honest about it and say I made a mistake.
It's the only way. There's no point trying. I mean,
it did come to the PC and eventually. Right?
No, it still hasn't. You're not going to get me twice.
Follows him to this day.
It haunts me. But yeah, there's no point. You can't smoke screen, and I don't know if you ever could before my time, but you certainly can't smoke screen stuff in the age of social media. There are many people there sitting there in front of their PCs that can dig about and find stuff. So just always be honest, even if it's not what they want to hear. You've got to be honest.
Yeah. What about you guys, Holly? Any particularly memorable stories of?
It's less of a story and more of just an ideal that I learned early on at Namco. My biggest thing at Namco was the Tales community. I ate, slept and breathed for that community in particular. They were one of the most wonderful I've ever worked with. But the problem was I ended up getting almost entangled within their passion myself. Totally sucked in by it, wanted to do the best for them. To the point where all of a sudden wasn't, because I was so... When you have those one or two people that complain, all of a sudden there's one or two complaints will become these massive things that I was trying to fight for at Namco and realised I was losing inside a much, much bigger picture. All because I had forgotten that I'm still the community manager. Yes, I participate in the community, but I'm also their advocate and also their leader. So it's very important that I know where this line is, that I can still do the best for them on a much bigger picture and not on this individual basis. And it was, one or two people would be complaining, I'd be going straight to head office with it, but then had forgotten that there are other things, bigger things that this community need, and longer term things that need to be looked at, like bringing Zillia to the West, like bringing the Symphonia pack, because that obviously was knew about before I left. So I'm quite glad that's out there now as well. It's knowing these things. And actually, the biggest problem I've had as a community manager is losing sight of the bigger picture and doing the best for them, because I've actually ended up going headfirst into their passion and blinkering out my actual job role.
Right. What about you, Sarah? Anything that springs to mind that you'll remember in 5 years' time?
Everything. The perfect storm I had was the Arkham City PC release.
So I don't think we said you were at Rocksteady before, yeah.
For a few years. And so the PC came out, it was delayed by about 4 or 5 weeks, and every week I had to go on and tell everyone, sorry, I've got no actual reason to give you, but sorry. And that was pretty bad. So they were getting more and more angry, and I knew I had a personal holiday booked in a few weeks, and I was like, please get this out before I go. Please. And 2 days before I went away, it came out and it was broken.
Right.
So up until a certain point, the game crashed and everybody went to the forums to complain, where I normally would be. And I decided to them all, I'm going on holiday. Bye. Because like Hollie said, the best thing to do is be honest, and once you're quite close in the community, you tend to say, oh, I'm off tomorrow, I've got a doctor's appointment, wish me luck.
Yeah.
You realise, why am I doing this?
Why am I telling these people?
And then 4 days into my holiday, I decided that for some reason I'd check into the forums, and there were about 8 threads calling me a prostitute and saying that I was spending their money on my holiday, I had their money, I was wafting it in the beach somewhere. The game is broken.
They didn't make photos or anything?
They started calling the office, they found Rocksteady's number and would call and leave messages for me, calling me this and that. And I was emailing the studio and going, by the way guys, PC's pretty broken. And that in itself, with developers, is a long process. It has to go through QA and testing, and when a game's just come out, the studio's sort of going, now we can relax, and you're the person who goes, sorry guys, not yet.
I'm sorry, that's a pretty harsh story.
Yeah, but I came back from my holiday and I spent 3 days basically having to sit on the forums and read all of this stuff and close down the threads and say, I'm sorry guys, this tone is abusive, I'm closing it down. That was pretty tough. I remember walking out a few times and you feel like a bit of a girl, be like, I'm gonna cry, this is really bad. But in the end, we fixed it. It was patched in about a week and we coming back, and I remember getting a really lovely message from the majority of the people sent the messages saying, we're really sorry, we got caught up, we know it's not your fault.
Right.
We're really sorry. And I met a lot of them at a community event we did shortly after, and they were all hugs and kisses. But I was still going, I don't trust you guys.
Well, if this was a job interview, that would have gone I think it's a great answer. It's you managed to resolve it fairly well. And
you do raise a good point there about QA and bug fixing. I don't think a lot of people realise that in order to fix a bug, it has to be recreated under certain conditions, and it sometimes can be a bit hard to explain why your patch isn't there straight away. And it's got to be replicated hundreds of times until they can be sure, and especially with a big long game.
This is what Chin has now. With Dynasty Warriors,
we have a slowdown issue for Dynasty Warriors 8, and our team is making it right now, so we want to release it as soon as possible, but they just don't understand.
Right.
Why it's so difficult? Patch it now.
Right now. Just get it done.
Yeah.
But they don't understand the sort of the process that it goes through.
I think one of the biggest challenge for community managers is we have to stay 24/7. So they expect you to be there all the time, including the weekends. So you can never rest.
So you have to sleep.
I have to sleep, but I have to make sure they're happy as well. So.
How do you guys? I mean, this feeds into part of the next question, but that feeling that a lot of the community feels as though they have access to you 24/7, and for a lot of you guys, you're fairly well known within the industry and within your communities, especially. You kind of I hate to use the word, but mini celebrities almost, where people feel like an attachment to you. Keep going.
I guess your company does look to you as being a spokesperson, as the face that people can contact, but I think we've all found out and you will find out, is that you care so much, it becomes so hard to switch off.
Right.
Like, I get into a lot of trouble when I'm at home and I'm still checking Twitter at 10, 11, 12,
Right.
1. When I go abroad on holiday and I'm ramping up massive roaming charges, because you can't not check Twitter, you can't not see, even if you've left your page in capable hands, you're like, I'd have made that better.
Yeah.
And I definitely said that a different way, and just it becomes your obsession. It's so hard to disconnect, which is why you're all on Class A drugs.
All the time.
It's hardcore pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
No, I think, again, sorry to go back to what Sarah said, it's very interesting to take some of the abuse that community managers are famous for receiving. But I think a lot of it is, as I said, it's misplaced passion.
Yeah.
Our
Right.
fans are so passionate. And often if they're lashing out, it's because they're angry or upset about something. And it's not that they'd normally be like that in real life, it's just they get wound up in their own passion.
Right.
And often edged on by other fans around them. And then they end up lashing out. But actually then when the problem is resolved, or you speak to them, often a simple reply, and I do it, oh, hey, sorry to reply, you know, I was playing games. And they're like, okay, well, that's fine. I reply at 9 a.m. And I used to be at Namco, I was always on. To the point of ruining my life, and I just said no. I am 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. Monday to Friday, unless there is an emergency. Because all that happens is I've had a few drinks, and then I'm checking Twitter. What the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm a professional. Can you imagine? It's all fun. I'm still a professional. I'm still the face of my company. I shouldn't be replying to tweets because I've had a few drinks. That's how mistakes happen.
Sure.
That's how you end up logging into the Namco account and not the personal account.
Yeah.
Getting the first thing you're doing at 7 a.m. in the morning is refreshing Twitter to see what you get. It's how you make mistakes.
Right.
Because you're still tired, you're still half asleep. You can't double check things. You can't lean over to the PR behind you and go, we did announce this, right?
Yeah.
It's not just me.
Yeah.
I got very strict with myself because I owe it to my community and to my profession, to the community managers, to do the best I can do. And if that means I stop checking Twitter after 7 p.m.
So just doing it within your set
between
hours.
what would be working hours, because honest to God, I would be a better community manager to all of you if I'm allowed to have a life outside of it as well.
Presumably you all have, like, you hand off, you have a certain amount of time during the day where you are responsible for your relative Twitter accounts.
Just
or
me.
It's just you? You don't hand it off to someone else?
No.
No.
I have a friend downstairs. I have a friend downstairs in moderation who does, bless him, does literally babysit access
Right.
if I'm out of
If you're-
office or on holiday. He babysits, and it's a favour, and he does it on top of his moderation job.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm the only person really doing Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
So, sorry. Yeah.
That's it. I mean, like it becomes that thing where like you actively seek out other community managers and other people in the industry because they don't care if you clock out for like 20 minutes as you check your phone and respond to some tweets because
Yeah.
that's what you've become now.
Right.
That's you.
Sarah, most people have that sort of clause on their on their personal Twitter that says, their views aren't in line with what their employer says. But with you, I mean, do you feel as though there's that pressure to always be representing the brand? If, for example, you're playing a Nintendo game, or you don't like something else that's you want to comment on your competitors or whatever, do you feel like that you can't do that?
It's just being careful with what you say. I mean, I kind of tend to treat my personal Twitter the same way we treat our work Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I will tweet about Nintendo and I don't talk about Microsoft, but I think it's important for people who are following you, if they are Little Big Planet fans or Sony fans, to know that you do have a breadth of knowledge and experience.
Right.
I don't just sit at home and I pick up my Sony controller with my Sony TV and then I sleep in my Sony mattress with my Sony bedding.
You don't.
Shocking.
45. I mean, this is my second Twitter account now, and I'm definitely much safer with this one than I was before. And I think
Right.
I learned a very important community manager lesson with my old one, that the price of having 3,000, 4,000 followers can be quite high when journalists follow you on Twitter.
Of course,
and we'll use what you say on Twitter as a quote from your company.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I tend to try not to say anything quotable anymore. I'll say something that's like fun quotable, but nothing that could be like, oh, that's a great story, I'll run that.
Yeah, absolutely. Chin, I know you post a lot of selfies and topless photos, so you're not particularly...
Well, I used to be last year, but now no.
You stopped doing that.
I'm not doing it now. I let other people do it.
But you're particularly popular personally on Twitter. Did that come out of the fact that you made this fan site and you had that following? to begin with?
I already had those following from from the fan side I created, and also I met a lot of people from the expo, so I always go as many expo shows as possible.
So things like MCM and
MCM, Eurogamer, Gamescom,
right,
and yeah. So they also follow me through the fitness. So because I'm now studying the fitness thing, so I always give them some tips, so they just follow and try to stay healthy.
If you want healthy food tips and workout routines, then you're the man, aren't you, really?
Yeah, find me. It's free. It's free for now.
And then finally, Rochelle Thompson on Facebook said, community management is very developed, more so than many other industries. With the advantage of a long legacy, what trends in community management do you see emerging? And that's from a community strategist herself. That's a big question.
Cool.
Does anyone have any... What legacy... Oh, sorry, with the advantage of a long legacy, what trends in community management do you see emerging?
The trend we're seeing, I think, now more than ever before is that the fans are actually have more control over the destiny the game takes than they've ever had before. And that will now become a lasting legacy. And this is because before, communities didn't necessarily have places to come together. That's a lot easier for people to do now. People that might be in the past, unless you were a very hardcore gamer, you probably wouldn't have gone to that particular forum and joined and engaged. Now you can join a much broader Facebook. You can join a brand Facebook group. And we have seen it. Fans are now in a lot more control. And that is something we will see continue to happen and develop. I was Namco Bandai, so Dark Souls on PC.
Yeah.
You start the petition happens, the game happened because of the petition. You see it, the ending of Mass Effect, I bless the community managers dealing with that one, must have been very tough for them. But again, the fans' voice was able to shape and change a development cycle. That's big. That's huge, in fact. The legacy is starting now. I think 10 years ago the fans had so much of an impact. They had impact. But I think this is now something we'll see continuing on into the future. And it's important you have a community manager because we help collate those thoughts and bring them to the right people in a way that maybe the petition wouldn't have reached until it got to an enormous number.
Right. Any other thoughts on that? Because a lot of people would say that Mass Effect example would be a bad one of the community having a negative influence.
Depends. I thought the ending was very good, actually, after the DLC. I liked the ending before, but I do think it was rather good DLC.
I've only seen the first ending. I
me too.
DLC.
I never redid it.
Yeah, it's still on my to-do pile.
I'm obsessive.
This is another thing, you may play lots of different games because, as Sarah says, it's beneficial to have perspective on what other game companies are doing. For example, my Twitter feed this week has pretty much all just been Pikmin, because I really want to play Pikmin. I completely forgot where I was going with that.
Mine's Dynasty Warriors. Stopped.
But, yeah, I completely forgot where I was going there. Help me out.
We were just talking about
legacies and things and how fans have been influencing.
What trends do you see?
It's a tricky one.
Bigger teams of community managers?
We're going to need them eventually, I think.
I think you need them, but your team, just like PR, I mean, it's surprising. Most of the big people don't have huge PR teams. PlayStation UK runs on a team of 4 people in PR.
Right.
And one of them is an intern that we get through the universities. So that's 4 people doing PlayStations, and that's with the PlayStation 4 coming up.
Yeah.
That's not big. At Namco for a while, I was one of the only ones, supported by my marketing director. That's not unusual. Teams don't need to be big; they just need to be good together.
Right.
That's the key.
What about from the this is a sort of personal question, but from the journalism side? I mean, you see more and more companies. I guess EA is a big example, and Sony as well with PlayStation Access, talking directly to their audience rather than going through journalists. Is that something that's a trend that's emerging?
Can I feel that one again? I'm talking about. This is something I was quite passionate about because I came under PR at Namco. I come under marketing and a bit more soulless community here at PlayStation. I would argue now, in the games industry in particular, that PR no longer means public relations, it means press relations.
Right.
The community managers deliver the same message in a different style to a different audience. PR use press releases and speak directly to journalists.
Right.
Community managers speak directly to the consumers and the fans and the people that are likely to buy our products.
Right.
Our messaging is fundamentally the same, but said differently. The journalists might not want to, they will have their press release. The community need to see the Dead Rising 3 Mankini picture.
They need to see it.
Same message that it's fun and it's open world and it's still as mental as before. It's the same message delivered differently.
Here it is in 140 characters.
Yeah, basically.
rather than
We're
1,000
really good at condensing big things into 140 characters.
Is that something you constantly struggle with, fitting it all into 140?
Which
there's-
grammar do I butcher today?
Yeah, it's normally like, here's a 140 character version, and here's a link if you want to read the stuff that was on the press blast.
Do you try and keep it lightweight as well? Not lightweight, or like not too serious, where it's, you know, like you'll post funny pictures now and again.
You've got to have personality, though. No one wants to follow an autonomous, like, here's our latest press release. They want to have a bit of banter. They want to know on Friday afternoon when they're flagging in the office, like, here's a funny picture of one of our characters, or even talking to them about. I think that took a lot of people by surprise, is when you start talking to them about other people's games, if you both really like the game. It just shows that there's someone human on the other end that's listening to you.
We are human.
I agree with the personality, but I think in Japan they start to use the Twitter now, but they're quite robotic.
They've been
at the moment.
they've been reticent over at Tecmo headquarters.
Yeah, they just update the Twitter. To me, I think it's very robotic. So it's just like, we have this update, check this out. And that's it.
Right, and that's it, and the link.
So I think for the Western market, it's very important for us to develop the personality in our tweets in 140 characters.
I think one of the really exciting things about like the trends and the emerging platforms is that as a community manager now, when you're thinking about creating digital creative platforms for your community, we have so much more choice in terms of visual, in terms of audio, in terms of actual platforms to talk to them on, that one of the challenges is kind of deciding which ones to use, because your gut is go, use them all. They will all use all of these. And we're having this at the moment with Little Big Planet, because it is such a big, creative, fun game. Your instinct is to say, we should be on everything. Then a lot of the time of meetings I'm doing now is less more. Do we want to be on the forefront of all this, one of the first brands to do it? Is it really giving anything to our community? And so whereas, I mean, I personally don't deal with the community as intimately as everyone else here, but I tend to deal more with what we give them and what will actually help them out and what will help the other community managers talk to them more effectively.
Right.
And I think that's really exciting about community management, is that you get to go to new digital platforms and edges that you didn't think existed. And we found recently that when we trialed something on Instagram, we broke Instagram.
Right.
By the way we coded the pictures.
Wow.
We're like, great, that's awesome,
That's good,
fantastic, guys. That was a really innovative idea that just doesn't work.
Right.
And that kind of trial and error, I think, is something that more and more people are doing, and Sony are really good at embracing it.
Yeah.
And I think I think the biggest thing in terms of people I know who are coming in is just not be afraid to try something and have it fail. Be afraid to say something and have it fail before you test. But not to be afraid to sit in a meeting and say, we should try this, and have everyone go, no.
Right. Is there an element as well with so many platforms these days, what you're saying a little bit, knowing when's the right time to use Facebook and Twitter, is there an element where it's like, oh my god, another thing, Pinterest, or, whatever it is that week, that's big, where there's so many different platforms?
Yeah, and Pinterest and things like that are great because you hear about them now, but because they're just big over in the States, and we know it's mostly women right now, and they're mostly interested in shopping, and you're like, great, I'll write that off, and then actually, they have a really high click-through to purchase, they're really engaged in the content, maybe we shouldn't write it off, and then you sit there for an hour just reading stats and numbers.
Just going further down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, and then you come out and you're like, what? Why was I looking at this?
Eventually you have to put your hands up and go, I'd love to. I don't have time.
Yeah.
I mean, and there are days, like today for me was a relatively quiet day here at PlayStation. Things were under control. Most of my projects are going along swimmingly. There wasn't an awful lot of news. Lovely. Today I could have updated Tumblr a million times. There are other days where I just want to cry, and then all of a sudden a massive news blast drops, and I'm knee deep in doing something else, and all of a sudden I've got to get this online on Facebook, but there's no asset for it. Now all of a sudden I'm trying to find an asset and make the asset 8x43 times 403 to make a highlighted image. And can you please approve the text? And all of a sudden you're like, I can't do it.
Okay.
You know what? Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, right now. If you want to expand my team, hint, we will take on more. But it's never about starting a platform you can't keep up. And I know Sarah feels the same about that.
Yeah.
It's all great. Let's start a PlayStation UK Tumblr. If I can't keep it up to date, it doesn't look good for the brand anyway.
Yeah.
So sometimes you go, we're going to sit and watch how this develops, but until it is worthy of a fully fledged page, maybe it's best that we don't deliver a half-assed attempt.
Sure.
Yes.
Focus on making the things we have got damn good, and then we move on.
I'm sitting here thinking, are we just giving the impression that all we do is sit on Twitter?
Do we not?
No, I think Hollie's given the impression that certain days are like you just want to go and cry in a corner and just, oh my god, there's too much to do.
I mean,
Every
to be
day.
fair,
Free games come.
I bloody love my job. I wouldn't change it for the world. I bloody love my job, but it is tough. And if a job wasn't tough, you don't get rewards out of it.
That's true.
Guys, that's a lovely place to leave it. I think with that discussion, thanks everyone for their questions. We filled pretty much an entire show just talking about community management. I'm keen to talk a little bit. No, it's fine. It's great. Talk a little bit about this week's news and looking at what games we've been playing. But please, whatever you think about the show, email podcast@guycocker.com and I'll run down the rest of the feedback next week. Alright, last time we had codes for the excellent Frozen Synapse to give away, courtesy of the lovely people over at Mode 7 Games. To win, all you had to do was name one of the studio's other games, which was fairly easy to do if you followed them on Twitter at Mode 7 Games. I think the most popular answer was Determinants, and our winners are Kings Fernau, Chris Ford, hopefully I pronounced that one right, Mr. Kevin J. Wivel, David Smith, Daniel Needham, Andrew McIntyre, Gord Russell and Steve Albone. On this week's show, the fine people at Chilingo have given me 10 codes for Bridgie Jones to give away on iOS. The game received a perfect 5 out of 5 from Touch Arcade and a gold award from 9 out of 10 from the lovely people at Pocket Gamer, who said it's challenging, surprising and even quite funny. So to win, simply answer this question: who is the developer behind the game? Get your answers into me at podcast@guycocker.com before the 29th of July, and I'll draw the winners on next week's show. Alright guys, time to talk about this week's news, what's been happening, what we found interesting, and of course the big stories as well. Let's start with Capcom, because obviously we've got a Capcom guy in the room. Capcom Online Games announcing 13 new titles in August the 1st live stream, according to website VG247. So it's going to announce 13 new social, mobile and online titles as part of the Japanese conference on August the 1st. The session will be live streamed. Neil, can we get any sort of exclusive on this? What's happening?
Remember the rules.
Remember the rules, yeah.
Every question you duck, you've got to remove an article of clothing.
Yeah, those are the standard community manager rules. I think the clue there is that it's going to be streamed as part of a Japanese conference. Unfortunately, we have to remember that some game companies span the globe, and as I've not heard of any of these yet, I'm going to bet that we're very unlikely to see any of them in the West. Okay. Japan has a very different approach to its mobile gaming. You know, whilst they'll sit and play Angry Birds and think nothing of it and play it for free, they'll not think twice about downloading a game where you have to pay for like more levels or more characters. That's the hip. That's what's in with Japan. So I'd be very surprised if we saw any of that come across. I think these will be games that will be designed specifically for the Japanese market. And if such time that they do come across, I shall eat my community manager hat, which I have on hand. But I don't think this is one for us at the moment.
That was informative and diplomatic. Thank you very much, Neil.
And my clothes remain on.
Clothes remain on. You did answer it. Next news story is Ouya sales numbers revealed to mixed response from developers. A number of new developers have revealed the sales numbers for their Ouya games, and the reaction can be best be described as mixed. I think I picked this up from BG24. So no, actually it was MCV magazine. Organ Trail by studio The Men Who Wear Many Hats has, according to creator Ryan Wymeyer, I think is how you pronounce it, sold about half of what my low-end predictions were, according to Gamasutra. It has so far been downloaded 13,000 times, resulting in only 501 purchases since launch. The game has elsewhere sold in the region of 400,000 copies. Bomball creator E. McNeil told the site that his game is making a little over $30 a day before Ouya takes its cut. Other devs were more positive. Super Crate Box is selling exactly what we expected, according to developer Rami Ismail, who added that by judging by some of the numbers we've been hearing from other developers, it seems like a viable platform to co-develop for. What do you guys think about Ouya? I mean, anyone played Ouya? Anyone interested in it?
I want to touch it.
You want to touch it? Just that's it.
I haven't played it, but it's like any platform, right? I mean, if you don't support it, where's it going to go?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's maybe off for a little bit of a slow start, depending on what fence you're sat on. But if we don't continue to support it, it won't take off as a platform. So I think it's really good. Co-developing is always a great way of doing things. Maybe bring it out cross-platform. I don't know how easy it is to code for, but I'm assuming since it's
similar to Android,
so since it's similar to Android, it shouldn't be too bad. But it's good that people have started supporting it. But it'd be nice to see them carry on.
I will. If we meet up, Chin, you can touch it.
Yeah.
Take that out.
You can
That is
touch
a sound
Guy's
quote.
ear.
It's very, very small, but it's
We know Guy. We know.
but powerful. No, it's not.
Guy has a small but powerful ouya.
It's not powerful at all, actually. It's
He just has a small ouya.
So I've been reviewing it for a number of sites. It's an interesting machine because it's there's lots of stuff you can do with it. It really didn't kind of come into its own until launch week when they got titles like Towerfall on there. Have you played Puddle? Have you ever seen Puddle? Where you kind of control water.
Yeah.
It's a cool indie game. But yeah, Towerfall was one of the games that came out saying it only sold 2,000 copies. So obviously it's off to a slow start. I think if you're interested in Android development or Android stuff in general, you can do lots of stuff with it. You can sideload your own programs on and get into the hacking and all the rest of it.
Controller looks nice.
The controller's
I'm
actually...
also going to get hands-on with... I'm obviously big into controllers now,
Yeah.
thanks to Dual Shock 4. But the ouya controller was really nice.
I'd say it's actually the worst part of it. Having played it, I moved straight over to an Xbox or PlayStation controller. It's really cheap and plasticky.
Oh, it looked lovely in all the pictures.
It is a shame, isn't it?
It's got a little like a touch-sensitive pad on it, which is kind of different to the
I was
the
going to say, be
DualShock
careful,
4.
guy, with the Dual Shock 4 sat next to you.
Obviously, this is the big selling point of it, but you don't really need it. Anyway, moving on. Another Android device, NVIDIA Shield, is finally going to be shipping July 31st after many delays. And NVIDIA's Android-powered handheld gets a new launch date. It was originally due to come in at June 27th, even, and it had $50 shaved off its price for $299. I've been
Still pricey, given the
pricey.
Vitas on the market.
Hey, get that in.
PS4 launch price.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit below the PS4 launch price in America. It's $399 in America, isn't it? $349? The PlayStation 4.
Yeah. 349.
$349.
The other one that's not.
The other one that's
The
not.
thing
So,
it has no name.
have you got any interest in this at all? The Shield.
Now, am I right in assuming that you can live stream PC games to it as long as you have a corresponding graphics card?
As long as you have a NVIDIA 600 series or above, yeah.
Well, that's kind of cool.
It
Now,
is
don't get me
cool.
wrong, I don't have that graphics card. I don't even have really a gaming rig.
Yeah.
But I guess if you were super into PC gaming, that's kind of cool,
Yeah,
right?
it feels like it's almost a very, 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 very niche console
It
for
is.
a big market, but I don't know.
PC Master Race for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they'll rule us all eventually. We should probably get on board with this.
It's a shame that I actually had this for a couple of weeks and I had to send it back. I would have brought it along otherwise. But yeah, you're right, Sarah. It's a very, very niche device. I think if you're a hardcore PC player, then you might get something out of it, or a
I
hardcore
guess
Android
if it's nothing
player.
new, I mean, the great thing about the Vita
You have to watch
See
you
what
with
you did
this.
there.
is that at least there's something dynamic to it. The touch panels in the back, there's new features there. Games are developed differently because they're for it. But if it's just a PC game being streamed to my handheld, then
Yeah, obviously Vita's going to do a lot of that with PlayStation 4 anyway.
That's some pretty sweet stuff.
Coming down the line, but this is the first instance of it. Well, having played it, it's still in beta, that feature. You can play DMC. I was playing DMC on it.
Great game.
Which is a great game. I love DMC, and it's a great game, but weirdly it sort of pumps it out. With DMC, you can really tell when you're playing it. I loved it on PC. Loved playing it at 60 frames. When you're playing it streamed, it runs at 30, and it's sort of noticeably slower, or maybe that's just me being a snob about such things.
My problem with handheld devices in general is A, do they pass the train test? Like, can you sit and play it on the train without people tutting at you? And B, how many bells do you get for your seashells on this device?
None.
Because
Sea bass, I'm telling you.
Oh, that sea bass! I hate that sea bass.
So not
50
much.
bells.
We'll talk about Animal Crossing. So not much love in the room for NVIDIA Shield. I've been playing with it.
Good for NVIDIA though. It's
No,
great
yeah,
to see them
it's a-
break out.
it's-
Yeah, exactly.
They were a huge supporter of esports, which is
Yeah.
amazing, and I'm a big I want to see esports grow in the UK.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
amazing what they
big
do, so it's good to see them step out of the really hardcore
Yeah.
and hopefully make a name for themselves. And maybe in a few
Yeah.
years' time, we'll see an iteration of the
I
Shield,
think
and it'll be a huge, and it'll be a massive competitor one day. Maybe I wouldn't want that, but it'd be good for Nvidia. They're
To rename
definitely
it.
a great,
Not so much
great
Shield
bunch of
as a
people.
name.
Shield, yeah, exactly.
And when I think of the controller, I literally just think of a shield.
It does. It does look like a shield, and that's the whole
Big
thing.
enough to defend yourself with.
Useful in London.
It is heavy. Yeah.
if you can play DMC on it, sure.
Then
I'll
it's
get my-
worth it.
I'm
Worth
sure I'll
buying.
get my hands on it, and I shall do my utmost to promote you, NVIDIA Shield. Please do get in touch because so far you have not appeared in my office yet.
No,
Well-
it's tactful.
I'll show
Masterful.
you the shield when I get it
After
back
chin.
and after
Yeah.
chin.
Yeah.
too, yeah.
After chin's done
There's a
with
lot
it.
of offers you're making in this
Exactly,
guide, and
exactly.
I hope you won't
have to
renege on.
follow through with a lot of these promises. Just a few news stories in brief. Rockstar could still be making Agent. Rockstar has renewed the trademarks for its long-absent PlayStation 3 exclusive Agent, causing speculation that the game may not be dead after all.
I love these stories. We can't do sod all without someone writing a story about it. We get it a lot at
Obviously,
Japanese
with
companies.
PlayStation and
Japanese companies get it a lot because we do trademark a lot of names.
Okay.
Tails was a good one. I know you guys have done it recently. In Japan, or with trademarking names, obviously they've no intention of bringing to the West.
Yeah.
And there's a story about it every week. Namco trademarks. Is this the next Dark Souls? No.
Are you excited about Agent though? I mean, it is a PlayStation, or was a PlayStation exclusive.
It was. It was one of ours.
Looked great for a while, but it's gone quiet for the last 4 years, I think.
I think what's difficult for them, they are an amazing studio working on a particularly large game, which, and I'm learning this with PlayStation right now, it can be very hard to talk about anything else when you have one big product coming on the horizon. PlayStation 4, it can be really hard to talk about anything else because most comments end up being, what about the PlayStation 4?
Right.
Okay, lovely. So I think it's tough for them. I think they have to get maybe one out the door before they can potentially sort of switch over, unless they've got a very dedicated team willing to try and simultaneously PR.
Well, I think with last year's game that Rockstar did, that was Max Payne, wasn't it? I think we
Yeah.
knew about GTA 5 at that point.
Yeah,
My
we
history
did.
might be quite wrong, but
I
we
think
don't
we'd
know
just
what
seen
they're
a
gonna...
logo at that point. They tweeted out the logo.
Right. We don't know what's coming after GTA
What are you up
5.
to, Rockstar?
We're always up to something.
Sneaky.
When are you going to break the internet this time?
Exactly.
eh?
Gotta be sneaky, Charlie. Real sneaky.
From a community manager perspective, they've kind of, whenever they drop assets or the community goes nuts for that.
We take the day off.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
In all fairness, you want to announce anything that will really piss someone off, do it the day Rockstar drops something enormous because no one's going to pay
And they're really
any
good,
attention.
Rockstar, because they tend to say, like, we're going to drop something in 2 days, and we all run to our spreadsheets, delete announcement, move it over here, move it away.
Move the whole game.
Move it just a month.
Full credit to them, they give you the heads up. And,
Yeah, it
and
makes
just-
our
we've
jobs
all-
easier.
We've all learned
They're
that
a
you
great
can't.
team as well.
There's no point putting anything out at the same time.
We'll
as
get an
that.
insight into the community manager
We'll say
scheduling here.
we'll say to them, no, fair play. I do follow the Rockstar account, and fair play to them. They do play with their community a lot.
They were
I
yeah.
always see regular.
Max Payne 3, they were fantastic. They're like Rockstar game where the developers will come on every bi-week, and I
Yeah.
think up until like a few years ago, Rockstar were a bit of this nameless, faceless corporation. I still don't know who does their Twitter account, but I at least know that they're online, they're playing, and they're chatting with them, and I think they're cooler to me now.
They've made me fall for my own traps. I totally I'm a brand advocate for them now. Like, that's awesome. They play with their fans. I really like this.
What are we doing?
All right, we're going to move on to another piece of hardware. Titanfall may support Oculus Rift. Anyone played with Oculus Rift or any experience with
Sorry,
it?
Titan what?
Titanfall?
Titan what?
Not in this room. There's no time.
Wrong guy, wrong building. I assure you.
We're going
wrong
to
building.
do the Last of Us in a second.
No, it's fine. Haven't you played Oculus, haven't you?
Yeah, Oculus is awesome. I
Yeah.
think I have a problem with Valve and motion sickness.
Okay.
Where I tend to always come away feeling a bit queasy.
Right.
And Oculus Rift does have that slight, like you're in a car and you're looking one way, but everything's moving the other way.
Sure.
Symptom, but I think just
Did you say you had a problem with Valve as well?
with their games always
Right.
give me motion sickness.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. Portal, motion sickness.
Just
Team
the-
Fortress, motion sickness.
The engine or something.
It's in the way they add it. I love them.
Yeah.
I still fight through them.
I found
Vomiting
green,
all the way.
green before I'm trying to play their games.
I think I was at oh my god, I can't remember the name. Eve. I played.
Yes,
it. Yeah.
at E3.
I played
Yeah.
that at E3 with Becca, and it was just amazing watching people. Like when you take it off and you see other people doing it, and just like. You see people just putting their hands out slowly and they're wobbling a bit, because when you look down at the floor and you can see stars in the universe, you literally go, amazing.
It's not going to pass the train test, though.
No.
is it?
No way. No way.
If that's coming for Titanfall, then, and Titanfall
It's a fast action game.
is Robo Call of Duty,
Mm-hmm.
does that mean that other such titles and
The
Like
dog.
Call of
Yeah,
Duty.
like Call of
Think
Duty,
of
for
how
example.
beautiful the dog will be.
Yeah, could reach down and pat it. I think, like you, Sarah, what was one of the highlights of E3, I think, that EVR demo that they had. It wasn't particularly graphically amazing, it was just the feeling of immersion. But not one to play after a heavy night of partying, I don't think.
No, I saw a lot of journalists looking like
looking a
bad
bit,
idea, guys.
a bit queasy. And then finally, 6 number ones and counting for The Last of Us. I feel, Bags, this is a soft topic to talk about in this room, but 22% week-on-week drop in sales, but still number one. 6 UK number one. It's incredibly popular and done really, really well. And that again is a very soft. It's not even a question from me, but obviously it's when I went to the launch or the preview event just before launch. There was a collective feeling from the Sony guys in the room that you had a hit on your hands, but it must have surprised you even as.
I think everyone's been overwhelmed by the support we've had from the community, especially with supporting the game, buying the game. People who may necessarily have been PlayStation 3 owners or PlayStation fans have given it a go, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It just solidifies Naughty Dog as a fantastic studio. They do make great games. I think it's reassuring as well for a lot of people that new IPs can still be successful. Something this industry needs reminding of. I think we all feel it. Indie do a fantastic job of it. We're a lot of companies out there trying new IPs. We've managed to break through with one, which is a great feeling. For me, as a community manager, and we all feel this, it's weird. I've worked on amazing games in the past, but it was quite small. It's probably the first big, what we like to call AAA, I'm making air quotations, AAA title for me to really work on and be truly involved in. I mean, I've worked on beautiful titles. I've worked on Ni no Kuni and Dark Souls, but this is my first AAA, and it's just been absolutely amazing to just post stuff, and every comment is just amazing. Can't wait. This is fantastic. Thank you, Naughty Dog. And you're just like, wow. It's been really amazing.
It is 10 out of 10 everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Apart from Polygon.
Yeah, Polygon too. It's genuinely been amazing. I won't do a sales pitch, but just the first 20 minutes alone, I was not ready. Wow.
Were you crying? Were you there?
Yeah, it totally caught me off guard. I was not ready for that opening. I did get a little bit teary.
Next up, Beyond, which you're working on. So,
Yeah!
Another new IP. I mean, what's the state of that at the moment? I didn't get to go and see. I was possibly up for going to see Quantic Dream, and I didn't get to do the trip. But I would love to have gone and seen those guys.
Beyond's amazing. It's difficult not to talk about because there's so much information, so it's restricted. But I think what the guys have done there is really focused on what they learned from Heavy Rain. So they'd spent a lot of time looking back on in-game feedback, what decisions people made, what forced people to make certain choices, how many people managed to utterly cock up the ending and have everybody die, which is a surprisingly high number.
Yeah, it's a really big number.
They got that feedback through. It was sent back to them, right?
Yeah, it's all done directly through the game, and Beyond feels very much like a movie, more so I think for me than Heavy Rain.
Right.
And I think the writing in it and getting Ellen Page and Willem Dafoe, you can tell the difference when there's an actor behind it, and especially Ellen Page. She's just astonishing, and I think there's some, you'll see it at the opening screen when the game's just dormant. It has this amazing just face, and you just sit there going, look at the eyelashes.
Just watching that.
Look at that, she's blinking. Look at her blinking. That's amazing. I don't know any other developer, even I'd say more so than Rockstar with L.A. Noire, that has that understanding of facial expressions and emotions. And I think there's a lot more very exciting stuff coming soon.
Cool. I was very happy to see The Last of Us do that well. I wasn't an advocate of the scoring, and I don't know if my journey goes into the same category of everyone else, but what The Last of Us did that I've not seen a game do in a long while is it became an event for people.
Right.
Yeah.
And you very quickly talked around the water cooler of people that had finished it or were on that journey, and I've not seen a game unite people like that for a long time. I'm so glad I played it, and I'm so glad I stuck it out to the end. I know people that have bought, especially I wasn't going to spoil it because then there might be people listening that haven't got there, but just I know people that have been caught up in just all of their mates talking about it and have went out to buy a PS3 specifically to play it, and it's just, I can't think of a game that's done that in recent memory that's really united people and given people an experience.
Okay, well, I think we've covered off this week's news, so let's just segue neatly into what we've been playing. You talked about, I presume you finished The Last of Us a while ago, or a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't know how this is going to go for everyone, but we're struck with the curse of we get to play a lot of games, which helps keep perspective, but we'll be damned if we can finish any. I've been working through, because I've got my background and then into community management, I've been working on my back catalogue, and what I've been playing recently, aside from Animal Crossing of course, is Fable 3 of all things, which was recently free on that other system.
I got day one special edition of that.
Yeah,
so Fable.
I do love Fable.
Do love Fable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I even got the book.
Some people
Fable
seem-
3.
Yeah, some people seem to have had a rough ride with it. I've thrown it out to Twitter a couple of times because it's quite famous for its making your hard decisions, and just a lot of people don't seem to have enjoyed the ride as much as I did.
Right.
But no, I've really enjoyed that one. I've kicked back with that. I think I'm gonna.
I forgot it was free because it was Assassin's Creed, and they've just announced another Assassin's Creed 2, and now they've announced another one as well.
Before that was Fable.
Yeah, I had a bad experience with that game because I was doing some judging around like a category that included that, and I blitzed it in one weekend, and I kind of regret doing it because it's not the game that you saw.
Just
blitz.
everyone's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, in terms of actors.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. So have you got to that? Not to the end bit where you've got to make certain decisions.
Yeah.
You've done that, and
I was.
that was a thing that everyone.
I was sort of
myself
forced
included,
into the end game of like I needed more money
Yeah.
to be able to come out with a happy ending, so I had to leave Fable. I was like, I won't be tricked into your end game. I'm going to accumulate money
Right.
by going away for the weekend, and then the money will be there on Monday. So I had to wait. I waited 48 hours to get the ending I wanted on Fable.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Animal Crossing. I think has everyone been playing Animal Crossing?
Yes. Yeah.
Jen, are you playing it?
I haven't.
You're not playing it. You're one man in games that's not playing this game, I think.
No, I haven't
No
played
interest?
it. No, I haven't got a chance. So
Mine's in my bag.
It's
I carry my
mine's
3DS
in
with me
my
in
bag,
case I get a street pass somewhere around Sony.
So Holly, how's it going for you, Animal Crossing? Do you like this version?
It's just addictive. It's just my kind of Skyrim.
Right.
That should have
Skyrim.
been the box quote. It's
Skyrim. No, it's Animal Crossing for me. I am playing Dynasty Warriors 8 because I'm a big Dynasty Warriors fan. So obviously Chin did help me out with a copy of Dynasty Warriors 8, so I'm enjoying that. I restarted Mass Effect for the 8th or 9th time. I'm like...
The trilogy or the...
I started 3 again. I'm like 125 hours on Mass Effect 3,
Wow.
about 112 on 2, and about 100 on 1.
Right.
I'm going
So
back
it's like
now.
my go-to game. I think my boyfriend was out. I'm like, what do I do with myself? I'll restart Mass Effect.
Why not?
So I'm a selection of.
I'm going for the trilogy before
Oh,
this
yeah.
console
No,
comes
funny
to
I'm a
an
bit
end.
naughty. I don't have the trilogy for the PS3. So sadly, all my Mass Effects are over on my
Other
console. So I play on that one. I bought a second table this last week. You see, so I have 2 setups of every room. I've got one TV, one flat screen Xbox
awesome.
on my desk, another flat screen on my PS3
Wow.
at the bottom of my bed, so that I
Right.
can
Good
switch
work.
consoles. So
Yeah.
if anyone else wants to play, my boyfriend wants to play, I can pick up another console.
So you're like you're one of those guys that where it's like BioWare release figures about how much time people have spent. Like you look at it and
There's
people
like a
have played,
Holly stat, like
There's
a
a Holly
pyramid.
stat. Just
I'm
there.
genuinely.
poster.
I've got other community managers that simply refer to me as Commander.
Yeah.
Wow.
If I get a text message, it comes up with going, Commander, you've received
Oh,
a new
dear.
message in your private terminal.
wait,
I'm
Rob,
like,
need
I
to
just feel
molecule.
I feel cool, right? I think it's fucking cool. I'm a particular BioWare fangirl. So I'm really hoping that Dragon Age is at Gamescom because I'm making a
That's
total segue
good
to
point.
BioWare.
You'll find me en route, please.
My team are like, we've got into you with... No, I'm sorry, BioWare.
I'm over there.
So what about Animal Crossing? I mean, where are you guys at? A lot of
I-
people have spent like 200 hours in that game now
It got so bad that I had to buy my missus a second DS.
because
Like,
she wanted to play it.
she wanted to play it on mine. I'm like, no, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
Got a top floor this morning.
Oh wow.
Pimpin'.
I'm loving it. I've got a separate kitchen.
Man, I'm so behind.
I got a
Yeah, I'm
separate
so behind
kitchen.
as well.
I've got like 2 flowers and like 1 bit of fence. It's all I could afford. And I'm like, yeah!
How do you get the upstairs bit to the sewing shop? Because I've got Club LOL, I've got my Dream Suite, but how do you get the poodle to move in upstairs? Because I want new hair.
I only just got the mall with the sliding
Can
doors.
someone tweet me at Hollie B just how you get the damn poodle? I think it's a poodle because I can't look at that building anymore. It looks
Right.
disgusting, and my hair is vile. I'm currently dressed as Link anyway because I've given up with my braided wig. So someone could tell me how I get the poodle to appear.
I like that as a game it teaches young professionals the dangers of mortgage repayment.
Right.
Yeah, that should be on the box. Always in debt.
As well
always
as-
in debt to Nuke. He's been round breaking my thumbs.
I'm desperate because I like cooking. The only thing I do apart from playing games now is cooking. I'd love a Tom Nook apron for the kitchen. Can someone make that
Nintendo,
happen?
do it.
Nintendo, can you make that happen? I want the Nook apron for when I'm pottering around in the kitchen, just so I can feel boss.
Oh,
Is there still a Nintendo World in New York that would stock
So
such
yeah,
an
I'll
item?
take a quick trip over there.
Just go to New York.
We don't all get flown around the world.
I'm sorry, that was...
I like how out in the open it is with everyone. Like, no one's ashamed to be playing it, which is awesome. Like, roll on Cooking Mama, because
I can't wait.
Is that coming soon? Is it
Not soon enough.
Not soon enough.
I love it. Love it.
What about you, Chin? Have you been playing anything recently, or have you?
I haven't actually got much time because I have so much things to do at the moment. But I always follow what my community is playing, and now they're playing Dynasty Wars 8, so I have to keep myself updated. So I'm playing Dynasty Wars 8 at the moment.
Because that's part of the job, though. Are you doing anything for?
Yeah, because they always ask questions. So like, which level are you on, and how's your progress? So I have to make sure I get maybe 30 minutes to 1 hour to play through the game. So I understand what they're talking.
Are you playing it during work time as well? Kind of.
Yeah, lunch break.
Yeah, and that's a big misconception.
Yeah,
that we
yeah.
all sit and play games. But it would be awesome if we had the time to, but no, we have to.
I played 20 minutes of Puppeteer.
Right.
On
Oh
a
wow!
borrowed PS3 to test it out.
That game looks great. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Honestly, it is dark. It's amazing. It's super twisted. It's a proper Studio Japan piece. Like,
Yeah.
only Studio Japan could make this.
They had it next to Little Big Planet at Playfest, and I kept wanting to like stand in front of it, and the kids like, "Don't look! Go to the happy puppet game. This is a dark puppet
It's
game."
really twisted. It's proper wonderful. But I played 20 minutes of that, and then they took their PS3 back.
Oh, the developer, I've forgotten his name, unfortunately, but based in Japan, British guy, if I remember right,
Yeah.
said he was making it for his 6-year-old child.
Yeah, that child must have dreams that I don't want to
So
see.
basically, him
But
and his
it's
son
good-
were playing a game, and his son literally got up and walked out. And he's like, "Why did you just leave?" He's like, "I got bored. It didn't change enough." So he's like, "Okay, well, when I make a game, and it literally does change as you're running along, because it's done like puppetry theatre. So as you're running along, the background's changing.
Yeah.
Randomly drop like Japanese puppetry. They can still be acting with the puppets. The scenery's dropping in around them. So it plays like that. I interviewed him for Access. Check out Access, youtube.com/PlayStation Access.
Oh, Hollie!
Yes.
Hollie!
That YouTube channel is my life. I love the work the boys do. But we interviewed him, and it's just him chatting. And this man, it's Matt Cheney. You can listen to him for hours, and this guy's the same. Just listen to him talk about Puppeteer. Probably does the best job of explaining the game.
It's good a certain level of darkness as well for kids. Do you not think, or like maybe not for?
Yeah, no.
We grew up on Resident Evil. Come on.
Yeah.
PlayStation, the Little Big Planet Vita, got complained about that being a bit dark,
for
because
kids.
that's obviously the Dark Carnival Master takes all the fun out, and the army of sackbots are going to get everyone, and people went, "Oh, it's a bit dark," and we were like, "Really?"
I think a certain level
Look
of
at
darkness is-
Puppeteer.
Yeah, exactly. Look at this other game we're doing, which is really, really
Yeah,
dark.
because I think we announced the Vita version of Little Big Planet at the same conference that Puppeteer was announced, and the story goes that Puppeteer went on stage, and we had about 20 minutes before we announced, and there was this panic to change the slides, get the word puppet out of everything,
Right.
show more fun slides, so it didn't just look like everything that comes out is dark.
What about you, Neil? Anything else that's on your radar at the moment? Anything that you're looking forward to? It's a bit of a quiet period in games, but you did mention Pikmin 3, which is out this week.
I'm pretty excited for that.
Yeah,
Very
it's
excited
getting
for
lots of great reviews. 88 on Metacritic at the moment.
I'm excited. It's one my missus is really into. She's really into the past Pikmin.
So you're one of the few people I've got on Wii U.
Yeah,
as a friend.
big time.
But we actually had a couple of messages come through. I had a couple of messages come through saying that they like the positivity that Wii U got on this show. I think Daniel Marr as well was a big fan, and so I mean, do you like your Wii U? You enjoying?
I got my Wii U specifically because I knew we had Monster Hunter coming out, and like Chin says, it's expected of you to rack up a few amount of hours so you know what you're talking about. So we took it from there, and then it's just been discovering past Wii U gems. Been on that Batman game.
That's
quite
pretty good.
That's pretty good. I love my Wii U. I absolutely do.
So Pikmin 3 is out on Friday. New Super Luigi U is out as a disc release as well. Did you play that one?
I did not.
It's
Not
incredibly
yet.
difficult. I got a 76 score on Metacritic. And then a lot of the Dota 2 reviews have also landed. I might have missed this. Has it reached final release stage? Because obviously it's been out. Any Dota fans?
No.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's been reviewed on a lot of sites and sitting on an 88 on Metacritic. Guys, is there anything else that you're playing at the moment that you want to talk about that might recommend to our
Hotline
listeners?
Miami.
Hotline Miami on
my
Vita?
God,
or-
the music's on SoundCloud. The whole
It's
soundtrack.
amazing.
Oh my God,
It's a perfect. It passes a train test. Plus, like if people see you playing it, they all lean over and watch you because obviously you're like running and hacking things.
It's
and-
incredibly, violent, but
Yeah, I
that
love
might
it.
be my only concern.
We've been doing a lot of PlayStation memories, haven't we? So looking
Those
back,
have been
so
good, yeah.
I'm replaying my favourite, which is Final Fantasy VIII, which
Right.
is my favourite game of all
Oh,
time.
that was my favorite.
Yeah, so-
7, baby. How is it?
Eight. So I'm replaying 8 on my Vita because the dual analogs mean it's.
Much
And
easier.
I just have this like you know, it used to be on PlayStation 1 and now it's on a portable device. Like, I'm sorry, I just...
Mind blown.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
just blows my mind.
Is
that-
it the fact that it was on multiple discs and all
Yeah,
that
but it
sort
was
of
on a box and it could be plugged
yeah.
into the TV and now here I am.
That was how I used to compare where you were with your friends. What disc are you up to?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm halfway through disc 2, I think.
But that means like Final Fantasy 10, I was just saying, whispering
Yeah.
to Sarah now, I can't contain how excited I am for the HD remake of 10.
I'm
Right.
probably going to cry.
And
I just imagine just
when it comes out. or
when
just-
it's in my hands, like as soon as
Right.
I see that opening thing and that the music with the staff there, the lights go, I'm going to cry. I can always see it in my mind.
Anakin
It's like,
being-
ah,
I'm really vested in the future for the Mad Max one.
Yeah.
That's a long...
that's
We
amazing.
we were sat in the same presentation at E3 for that.
We were?
if you remember right.
I did.
Yeah, I was quite surprised with how good it looked. I don't know if that's good back then.
It looks great. Everything about it looks great.
Are you a Mad
it's-
Max fan?
I am a Mad Max fan, so the tone is going to be very important. So I'm going to be very curious. They did well with that first trailer that they've done. So
Yeah.
let's see if
It's
they can
pretty,
keep
yeah.
that up. In the meantime, I was going to go back and do all the Borderlands DLC.
Yeah.
I was tempted to do that.
The last one is particularly good. I heard. I've forgotten the,
The
name.
Tiny
Tiny
Tina.
Tina.
Dragon,
Tiny Tina, yeah.
Dragon
'Cause I love that
Dragon
character.
King?
She's fantastic.
Well, they've just announced more
Yes.
DLC, so
Yeah.
I'm like, I was saving all that up, and now there's going to be more.
Oh, the
bastards. Yeah.
I find that the weather affects what I want to play. So
Right.
like I tried to play Last of Us the other day and it was like scorching sun outside. And there
Right.
are kids running around in sprinklers and I was like, no.
mushrooms.
then you see them turning on the Vita and hearing the Balam Garden theme strike up, and you're like, this is beautiful,
Yeah.
and this is it does get affected by my mood.
Yeah, I'm doing Persona 4 Golden for the 4th time.
Oh wow.
I need to get that.
It's just I would argue that is the most perfect game out in the past year. Like I
Right.
just think it's a masterpiece.
Again on Vita.
On Vita, yeah, because it was remastered and the original is a classic anyway, and it's so bright and colourful, and the OLED screen looks amazing, and I can't not smile when I'm playing it.
Way too
Let's
much.
talk about Dead or Alive, because that's great.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's just hit Vita as well, isn't it? Or well,
yeah, sorry,
a couple of months ago.
on the
was it?
Vita, a few months ago.
See Vita, it's all good.
Yeah,
It's
see,
all
all comes
Vita.
back to Vita.
I walked into that one. Guys, thanks so much for your time and for telling us a little bit about community management. Where can people, if we go around the table, find out more about your stuff, your work? Obviously, you're all on Twitter. Is that the best way to follow you, Chin?
It's not safe for work, but you can follow me.
I love that you come with that warning.
Yeah, because I tweet anything I want. Because I used to tweet like randomly, so I got warned by the company. But so I changed my tweeting style. But my community they say, "Chin, that's not you. We don't want this." So I just be myself. So now my company let me to be myself. So I just
Right.
Which is
to warn
awesome.
you is the
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Jin's had like an amazing journey, like
Yeah.
not just the community manager, but as an inspiration to people, especially with the fitness side.
Well, tell us all about that, Chin, because obviously it's a big part of your sort of your
my
experience in the
fitness,
last few years.
I think because I started this community, it was very stressful because I was all alone. So I got ill really bad.
Right.
My time management was crap, and I was I felt really, really sick. So I was very ill, and by that time I kind of realized I need to take care of myself. So and then I started to work out, and then I realized the progress. Then I see the possibility, and I changed, and I think it's possible. Even I'm still busy, but it's still possible.
Still possible to take care of yourself and eat well and
Eat well, feel happy, and play games.
Yeah, that's your motto.
Get Chin fit.
yeah, exactly. That's the DVD that's waiting to happen.
my
It
God.
should be said that that Sarah and Chin are both fine specimens. You're going like, was it CrossFit or
Oh,
something?
yeah, cheers, guys.
Thanks, guy.
These guys obviously are as well,
CrossFit
but
training.
you're doing CrossFit later, and you're obviously.
Can I
always
point
in the
out, I
gym.
used to do insanity workout in the
Did you?
basement car park at lunchtime.
Oh my god! As well as going for lunch with.
Yeah, and then I went for chin in the evening. Yeah.
Wow, it's crazy. It's a crazy amount of health and fitness in this room.
Hey, you say this. I've lost 2 inches around my waist. You can put your hand down there, no problem now, guy. Whereas before,
You want to struggle?
yeah, before you would
To get in
struggle,
there.
you could
undo a belt.
you could slip a Coke can down there, no problem.
With the
We've got-
Gamescom was to hold it open and just throw them at you.
We've got a Coke can right here, so we'll try that
Wow.
out later and post that online. Sarah, what about yourself? What's the best place to find you? We'd actually get your
yeah.
Twitter handle, Chin.
Oh,
Sorry.
it's INSPCHIN. I call myself in split the chin.
And what about Tecmo games in particular? Is it the forums or is there an official Twitter feed?
Oh, if you want to follow Tecmo Koei, it's Tecmo Koei Europe.
Okay.
That's their official Twitter account, and that's the normal. Oh, their own normal tweets. No dirty tweets.
But definitely follow Chin and add to his. He doesn't even need it. Was it 28,000 followers now, Chin?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, modest.
Modest, very modest. Sarah, what about yourself?
I'm Sarah Wellock 84, and if you can't remember that, just search Sarah May. And Little Big Planet is pretty simple. We're Little Big Planet, all one word on Twitter, and littlebigplanet.com.
Good stuff. Holly, what about yourself?
You can follow me for. I do tweet really random stuff.
Right.
I tweet whatever comes into my head normally. At Hollie B, but I'm HOLLIEB, all one word. If you want to follow what I do for PlayStation, the UK community is called Access, so we're at PS Access. And then I run a YouTube channel where you see like the content we make. It's all like one-off bespoke shows. Think like, I guess the best way to compare it is the old Outside Xbox with a Sony version. And that's PlayStation Access on YouTube. So that's where you'll find us generally fooling around and talking about video games at the same time.
Excellent stuff. Neil, where's your...
on the cyberwebs?
On the cyberwebs.
Facebook is Capcom UK, Twitter is Capcom_UK, and my own profile is Neil Gortz with a Z. So please come and find me and say hello, and I will say hello back.
Good stuff. Thanks very much, guys. Been a real pleasure, and thanks for all the questions and answering all the questions. If you have any feedback, please send it to podcast@guycocker.com. Next week, I'll be joined by friends and fellow podcasters Bart Harris and Chris Stevens, who present the mobile gaming show Finger Bang. Keep an eye...
Wow, that wins.
Yeah, it's a better show name than mine. Keep an eye on twitter.com/guycocker for more updates. Subscribe in iTunes, and you can have them delivered as soon as they're available. And if you're feeling particularly generous, leave me a review or rating on iTunes. Guys, thanks very much.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah.